Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha Said.
And I'm Hem Kaur Saroya, and on the show today, of course, our top focus is the helicopter carrying Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi and Foreign Minister that crashed on its way back from East Azerbaijan. Iranian emergency crews continue to search for the chopper. They're yet to locate the site of the crash. We are getting in reports. We'll, of course, continue to bring you all the developments as and when they come in on the show today.
Absolutely, Hem. Also on World DNA today, our other big focus is India heads to polls in phase 5 of the 7 elections phases. 49 parliamentary seats are going to vote spread across 8 states and union territories. While voting is currently underway, and we will bring you all the latest on that front with our reporters fanned out across key locations in India. All and a lot more lined up on World DNA today. But first, a quick check on the headlines.
Search and rescue teams arrive at the heat source identified by a drone. No clue of President Raisi's chopper.
Iran's cabinet goes into a huddle. First Vice President Mohammad Muqbir chairs emergency meeting after accident. Supreme Leader Khamenei urges Iranians to not worry about leadership of Islamic Republic.
Several governments and international organizations offer logistics help to search for Ebrahim Raisi. Turkey sends rescue team, dispatches drone, while Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations aircraft takes off from Zhukovsky Airport to Tabriz. And European Commission activates satellite mapping to assist with the search operations.
Iranians organize mass gathering in capital Tehran to pray for President Raisi's well-being following helicopter crash in country's northwest.
India's Prime Minister Modi expresses deep concern over Raisi's chopper crash, says deeply concerned by reports regarding President Raisi's helicopter today. We stand in solidarity with the Iranian people in this hour of distress and pray for the well-being of the president and his entourage.
Swearing-in ceremony for Taiwan's President-elect Lai Ching-te kicks off in Taipei as China ramps up military and diplomatic pressure on self-ruled island.
Voting for India's 5th of the 7-phase Lok Sabha elections 2024 begins. 49 constituencies across 8 states and union territories vote to decide the fate of 695 candidates.
Xander Schauffele wins his first major in thrilling fashion. The American cards a final round of 65 at Valhalla to hold off the challenges from Bryson DeChambeau and Victor Hovland to begin to reign supreme at the PGA Championship.
Of course, our top focus this morning, over 12 hours after the helicopter carrying Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi and 8 others crashed in northern Iran on Sunday, more than 70 rescue teams continue to search in the dark.
Right, Amy. The latest, the search and rescue teams reached the source of heat suspected to be the wreckage of helicopter, but found no clue of the President Raisi's chopper.
Now, the helicopter came down in the early afternoon in Iran's East Azerbaijan province. This is what we know so far, triggering a massive search operation. The efforts include deployment of military drones and dozens of rescue teams.
مخاطبین محترم میتونن ببینن که چگونه گروه‌های امداد در حالی که شب هست بارندگی شدید وجود داره هوا به شدت.
Initially, officials said that they were able to make contact with some of the passengers aboard the helicopter.
مسیری مواصلاتی به طول 107 کیلومتر که به صورت ریلی و جاده‌ای شرق به غرب آسیا را از خاک ایران به هم
But so far, emergency crews have not been able to reach the crash site amid a reported fog and extreme cold weather.
Iranian foreign minister was also on board. Conditions of both Raisi and Abdullahian remain unknown as overnight temperatures drop in the mountainous area.
Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced late on Sunday night that they detected the exact location of the crash after receiving a signal from the helicopter and the mobile phone of one of the crew members.
The accident occurred as Raisi and Amir Abdullahian were returning after inaugurating a dam on Iran's border with Azerbaijan. There were 3 helicopters in the convoy of dignitaries, but the helicopter carrying the president lost contact, while 2 other choppers arrived at their destinations safely.
Iranian authorities have identified a 2-kilometer radius for the crash site. The crash site is believed to be somewhere in the Dizmar forest area. Poor weather and low visibility are complicating rescue efforts in the rural area.
Iran's neighboring countries, including Russia, have offered help in the rescue efforts. Azerbaijan's Red Crescent Society released a video of search and rescue workers looking for the crashed helicopter. The video showed people carrying flashlights as they walked in windy conditions on a hill.
Turkey has assigned a drone and a helicopter with night vision capability to assist with the search operation in Iran. The Turkish Disaster and Emergency Management Authority said that a team of 23 mountaineers and 6 vehicles have been sent to Iran to help with rescue operations. Flight radar live tracking maps showed the drone circling around the area where the helicopter is thought to have crashed on Sunday. The UAV identified the source of heat suspected to be the wreckage of the helicopter and then shared its coordinates with Iranian authorities, but no clue of the chopper was found at that location.
Russia has also sent a team of rescuers to help the search efforts. 47 specialists with the required gear and equipment, including all-terrain vehicles, along a BO-105 helicopter, has also been sent. Apart from Russia, the European Union offered emergency satellite mapping technology.
For more on this, we're now being joined by Lester Munson, Senior Fellow, National Security Institute, Principal International at a BGR Group. He's joining us from Washington, D.C. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Now, sir, of course, there have been conflicting reports that have been coming out with regards to the location of the crash site as well. It's been 12 hours, over 12 hours actually. Iranian emergency crews are carrying out search operations. Also, the heat source that was identified, that gave no clue of the crashed helicopter either. How do you assess the situation at the moment?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen. It certainly doesn't seem like it's going to be good news. The weather is bad. Helicopters are dangerous. And the fact that they haven't heard from anyone from the helicopter in quite some time, I think, means that this is likely to be bad news. But I think, of course, we're all hoping for the best and no unnecessary loss of life.
Right, Mr. Munson, the incident also puts the spotlight on Iran's aviation industry, especially with international sanctions on Tehran, which makes it perhaps difficult to obtain the parts of the aircraft. What perhaps would have been the state of the 3 choppers, 2 of which have returned back to the destination safely, but the one carrying Iranian president and foreign minister missing?
Well, I certainly think people are going to speculate about that. Iran has been a malefactor in the region and globally for quite some time. That's the reason it has economic sanctions imposed on it. So what are the consequences of those sanctions? Could they have had something to do with this, with the crash of this helicopter? That remains to be seen, but it's certainly going to be discussed. I hope at the same time people will be discussing Iran's bad acts, supporting terrorism and other groups that are seeking to undermine legitimate governments in the Middle East.
Sir, I also wanted to understand countries around the world, of course, they are offering logistics help. Turkey has sent a team as well there. How efficacious do you think these teams can be, considering it's already been over 12 hours and the location of the chopper crash has not been identified yet?
Yeah, I'm no expert on rescue efforts, but with each hour that goes by, it's going to be more difficult to get a successful outcome here. I think realistically, flying a helicopter in bad weather is never a good idea. I suspect that the likely explanation here is that is what led to the crash. Of course, we all hope that there's no unnecessary loss of life here, but the longer this goes on, the less likely we are to receive any kind of news that someone survived.
Right, Mr. Minson, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on Beyond with Your Insights.
Thank you.
Now, massive search operations are on to search for the missing helicopter in which Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi was on board along with Foreign Minister and other delegates. The helicopter, it is the Bell 212 helicopter.
Right, Haim. Now, it is also known as the Twin 212. It is a two-blade medium helicopter that first flew in 1968.
This helicopter was manufactured by Bell Helicopter in Fort Worth, Texas, United States. It was originally developed for the Canadian forces. The 212 was marketed to civilian operators and has up to 15-seat capacity with 1 pilot and 14 passengers. In cargo carrying configuration, the 212, it has an internal capacity of 220 and can carry an external load of up to 2,268 kilograms.
Now, if one engine fails, the remaining engine can operate at 900 shaft horsepower for a span of around 30 minutes. Now, the Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi's helicopter crash, that has triggered mass prayers at home.
International support, of course, is also pouring in for the rescue of the leader and the crew. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has called upon the country to pray for the president while hoping for President Raisi's safety. Khamenei assured the people of Iran that there will be no disturbances in the country's affairs.
امیدواریم خداوند متعال به سلامتی کامل رئیس جمهور عزیز ما و همراهانشون رو به آغوش ملت برگرداند.
Following the news of the crash, scores of people gathered in the Iranian capital of Tehran on Sunday to hold mass prayers for the president.
متاسفانه باید عرض کنم که این مطلب خیلی ناخوشاینده، چه برای حاکمیت چه برای ملت، که ما رئیس جمهورمون سوار هلیکوپتری میشه که امنیت آنچنانی نداره و یه همچین حادثه‌ای براش پیش میاد و تدابیر امنیتی براشون در نظر گرفته نمیشه.
Worshippers also gathered at the Imam Reza Shrine, which is one of Islam's holiest sites, to pray for the well-being of President Raisi.
In fact, Iranian news media halted their broadcast to show prayers being held across the country.
Meanwhile, Iranian authorities, they've thanked countries for showing solidarity and extending support. The Iranian Red Crescent has deployed at least 40 separate rescue teams from different countries in the ongoing search operations. Iran has offered gratitude for countries including Russia, Qatar, India, Turkey, amongst others.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden's office and the State Department have said that they are closely following the news of the helicopter crash. Biden called for an emergency meeting in the White House pertaining to the crash on Sunday.
Russia had sent a team of rescuers to Iran to help search for the helicopter carrying the Iranian president. The country has deployed 47 specialists and the necessary gear and equipment, all-terrain vehicles as well as a BO-105 helicopter for assistance. The chopper is taken off to reach Iran's Tabriz city.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that, and I'm quoting him here, deeply concerned over the reports of the crash. The leader took to his X account in a show of support with Iran and its people, while also offering prayers for the leader's safety.
Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev has also offered prayers for the Iranian president and officials. The crash was reported after, in fact, Raisi was returning from Iran's border with Azerbaijan. Expressing concern over the crash, Aliyev said, and I'm quoting here, as a neighbor, friend and brotherly country, the Republic of Azerbaijan stands ready to offer any assistance needed.
Turkey is also following suit and has dispatched 23 mountain rescue specialists and search vehicles to help in the search for the missing helicopter. As per the Turkish Defense Ministry, drones along with a helicopter with night vision have also been assigned to help in the rescue efforts.
Now, people gathered to pray in Iran's capital, Tehran, on Sunday following the crash of the helicopter carrying President Ebrahim Raisi in the northwest of the country.
The incident sparked a massive rescue operation in a fog-shrouded forest as the public was urged to pray. Take a look. In other global news, Israeli planes and tanks pounded areas across the Gaza Strip. As per residents, the strikes comes as White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday.
This amid US calls for a more focused military campaign. Here's a report. Take a look.
Residents said Israeli planes and tanks pounded areas across the Gaza Strip on Sunday. Over 24 Palestinians were killed in the enclave, most of them in a strike on a house in Nusayrat in the central Gaza Strip, according to Gaza health officials and Hamas. Abu Khaled Monez lives near the house that was hit.
The house was flattened to earth and the entire square around it. Where we are has been destroyed. We have martyrs, the entire house with everyone inside. No one survived except a young boy aged 8 or 9 months.
The strikes came as White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu amid US calls for a more focused military campaign. Washington worries for the hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians sheltering in the southern Gaza city of Rafah and has cited a need not just to evacuate them, but also to ensure adequate alternative accommodation. Israel has been pushing into the city that it says is the last bastion of Hamas forces. For many, it was one of their few remaining places of refuge. Speaking to Reuters on Friday, Rafah resident Majid Omran said his family had fled and returned to what was left of their home in the southern city of Khan Yunis. Across the Gaza Strip, there is no safety, he said. We took our children, grandchildren and daughters and we came and lived above the rubble of our home, because there is no place to take refuge here. Israeli forces also pushed deeper into the narrow alleyways of Jabalia in northern Gaza overnight and into Sunday. The Israeli military has said its operations in Jabalia, the largest of Gaza's 8 historic refugee camps, are precise and meant to stop Hamas from re-establishing its grip there. According to Israeli tallies, the October 7th Hamas assault on Israel that sparked the war killed 1,200 people. More than 35,300 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli strikes since then, according to the enclave's health ministry. Aid agencies have warned of widespread hunger in Gaza and shortages of fuel and medical supplies.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky marks 5 years in power today.
But for his country, the prospect of reaching a peace deal with Russia after more than 2 years of war, that remains a distant dream. Our next report getting you more.
In 2019, Volodymyr Zelensky, a comedian and political novice, competed against then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. He won the second round of election with 73% of votes. Zelensky seemed to have tapped into an anti-establishment mode among Ukrainians. On May 28, 2019, Zelensky was sworn in by the country's parliament. The next election was due to be held in March 2024, but the vote is postponed indefinitely due to the war. Asked at a news conference in China whether Zelensky's political legitimacy was becoming an issue, Russian President Vladimir Putin, who was re-elected for a 6-year term in March, said the matter was a question for Ukraine's constitutional court and political system to decide. But he said the question mattered to Russia because if and when it signed some kind of agreement with Ukraine in future about the war, it wanted to be sure it was signing a deal with the right person. Over the past 2 years, Russia's invasion and Ukraine's resistance have propelled President Zelensky to global significance. Refusing to leave Kyiv at the outbreak of the war, Zelensky rallied his compatriots and his approval ratings have soared. As the war ran into its third year, support for the president dipped, but according to the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology, his approval has stabilized at 60 to 65%. According to the pollsters, the situation on the battlefield and fight against corruption were the two main factors that influenced the public opinion. A majority of Ukrainians, from 70 to 80%, say it was right not to hold elections during at wartime, and Zelensky is a legitimate head of state. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Moving on, Georgian president has vetoed a controversial foreign agents bill that sparked weeks of widespread demonstrations across the country.
Now, the president said the law, in its essence and spirit, is fundamentally Russian and an obstacle to Georgia's path to an EU membership. Here's the report.
Georgian President Solomei Zurabichvili on Saturday announced that she has vetoed a draft law on foreign agents.
Today, I vetoed the Russian law. This law is Russian in its essence and its spirit. It contradicts our constitution and our European standards. Therefore, it represents an obstacle to our European path.
The law, which has sparked street protests, would require organizations receiving more than 20% of their funding from abroad to register as agents of foreign influence, imposing onerous disclosure requirements and punitive fines for violations. Opponents see the bill as a test of whether the country stays on a path towards integration with Europe or pivots back towards Russia. Mass protests have swept through the Georgian capital, Tbilisi, over the past month, since the first reading of the draft law was passed in Parliament. The United States and the European Union have repeatedly warned the ruling Georgian Dream Party to drop the bill. Parliament, which is controlled by Georgia's ruling party and its allies, is widely expected to overturn the veto.
Now, Russia has called on France to refrain from using force against protesters in New Caledonia.
Well, a Russian foreign ministry statement urged France to respect the people's rights and freedoms. The French overseas territory of New Caledonia is experiencing a wave of anger over a controversial electoral reform.
Cars were torched, businesses burnt, makeshift road barricades set up in the capital of New Caledonia as the country experienced the 6th night of deadly civil unrest on Sunday.
The riots have been sparked by anger among indigenous Kanak people over a constitutional amendment approved by lawmakers in Paris. Well, the amendment allows the French people who lived in New Caledonia for at least 10 years to vote in provincial elections. Local leaders fear that it will dilute the Kanak vote.
The upheaval had killed 3 indigenous Kanak and 2 police officers. The 6th person was killed and 2 seriously injured on Saturday during a gun battle at a roadblock. French police, as per the French police, French forces smashed through about 60 roadblocks to clear the way from the conflict-stricken New Caledonia's capital to the airport, but have still not reopened the route.
And that's what the top government official has said. Meanwhile, 6 nights of violence have left 6 people dead and hundreds injured. Security forces will launch harassment raids to reclaim other parts of the Pacific territory. The French government representative in New Caledonia has said in a televised address. And well, it's time now for a quick short break.
But don't go anywhere, there's lots lined up for you on the other side. Voting for the 5th of the 7th-phase Lok Sabha elections 2024 that's begun for 49 constituencies across 8 states and union territories. We'll of course bring you all the updates with our reporters fanned out across key locations in India.
Also on the other side, we will also look at how India is faring in the global artificial intelligence race as worldwide investors begin to shift their focus away from expensive tech stocks associated with the old economy. The shares of India's much touted tech outsourcing companies are taking a hit. This report and a lot more on the other side of this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching WION World is One.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players. Right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show. Let's start by looking at the headlines first.
Raisi chopper crash site located. Rescue crew underway.
Iran's cabinet goes into a huddle first. Vice President Mohammad Mokhber chairs emergency meet after accident. Supreme Leader Khamenei urges Iranians not to worry about leadership of the Islamic Republic.
Several governments and international organizations offer logistic help to search for Raisi. Turkey sends rescue team and dispatches drone, while Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations aircraft takes off from Zukovsky Airport to Tabriz. And European Commission activates satellite mapping to help with the search operations.
Iranians organize mass gatherings in capital Tehran to pray for President Raisi's well-being following helicopter crash in the country's northwest.
India's Prime Minister Modi expresses deep concern over Raisi's chopper crash, says deeply concerned by reports regarding President Raisi's helicopter flight today. We stand in support with the Iranian people in this hour of distress and pray for well-being of the President and his entourage.
Voting for India's fifth of the seven-phase Lok Sabha elections 2024 begins. 49 constituencies across 8 states and union territories vote to decide the fate of 695 candidates.
Swearing-in ceremony for Taiwan's president-elect Lai Ching-te kicks off in capital Taipei as China ramps up military and diplomatic pressure on self-ruled island.
China launches an anti-dumping probe into chemical imports from the EU, United States, Japan and Taiwan amid escalating trade tensions. China claims these imports harm its domestic producers.
Xander Schauffele wins his first major in thrilling fashion. The American cards a final round of 65 to hold off the challenges from Bryson DeChambeau and Victor Hovland to reign supreme at the PGA Championship.
All right, voting for the fifth phase of the seven-phase Lok Sabha elections 2024. It's begun for 49 constituencies across 8 states and union territories.
Right, and voters are practicing their franchise in Jharkhand, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, West Bengal and the 2 union territories of Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. 428 of the total 543 seats will have gone for polls when voting closes today.
Several key candidates are in the fray in the fifth phase. This includes Union Minister Smriti Irani, who's contesting for the second term from Uttar Pradesh's Amethi. She is in the UP battleground against the Gandhi family loyalist Kishori Lal Sharma.
Congress leader Rahul Gandhi is contesting for the Raebareli seat against the Horticulture Minister Dinesh Pratap Singh of the BJP. Gandhi won elections from Amethi during the 2004 elections with a margin of around 100,000 votes back then. He had retained his seat in the 2009 and the 2014 Lok Sabha elections before losing it to BJP's Smriti Irani in 2019.
Instead, he won the Wayanad seat in Kerala. Then we have Union Minister Piyush Goyal going against Congress's Bhushan Patil on the Mumbai North seat.
सर्वर 16 पे बताने को जा रहे हैं।
Rajnath Singh faces our India Alliance contestant Ravidas Mehrotra and Bahujan Samaj Party's Sarwar Malik in the constituency of Lucknow.
Of course, he's seeking the third term. In 2019, the BJP had won 13 of these 14 Lok Sabha seats and had lost only Raebareli, which was retained by Sonia Gandhi.
National Conference leader Omar Abdullah is contesting from the Baramulla seat of Jammu and Kashmir. He faces Sajjad Lone from the People's Conference Party.
Campaigning for the fifth phase of Lok Sabha elections ended on Saturday, that's the 18th of May. The final counting will take place on the 4th of June. The voter turnout had dipped in the first three phases of elections. The Election Commission of India, however, has been trying to keep up the polling trend throughout the country.
The voting percentage witnessed a slight jump in the fourth phase. The last four phases of voting rounds happened on April 19th, 26th and 7th and May 7th and 13th. The final two phases are scheduled for May 25th and June 1st. And for more on this, we have our reporters fanned out across key locations in India. We have with us our principal correspondent, Disha Shah, joining us live from Mumbai. And we also have with us correspondent Idris Lone, joining us live from Srinagar. A very good morning to both of you. I'm going to first start with you, Disha. 13 seats up for grabs in Maharashtra today, 6 from Mumbai itself. You're joining us from the polling booth there. What's the mood like there right now?
Well, absolutely. Today we are talking about key constituencies, including 6 from Mumbai, and we are here since an hour, and the voter turnout, the footfall of the voters pretty much high since 7 a.m. We have been witnessing, and this is how Mumbai votes every election. They come out in huge numbers, and through the day we will be able to see similar trend. And now if you talk about there are about 264 candidates in the fray. There are about 2.46 crore voters that are eligible to cast their vote today, including 99 lakh in Mumbai alone. And if you talk about key constituencies, the one that I'm standing right now, it's the Mumbai North Central constituency, where the BJP has fielded Ujjwal Nikam, a senior criminal lawyer for the first time who has handled high-profile cases. So he will be pitted against the Congress candidate. When we talk about another key candidate, Union Minister Piyush Goyal is also debuting for the first time from the BJP's ticket. So he's also being fielded against the Congress candidate. But overall, if you talk about, Mumbai always has been the bastion of the Thackeray family, the Shiv Sena family, right from Balasaheb Thackeray to Uddhav Thackeray. Since 30 years, Mumbai has voted for Shiv Sena. But this time around, the politic dynamic is completely different. This time around, after the split within the Shiv Sena party, we have two Shiv Senas, one from the opposition, one from the ruling party. We have two NCPs. So the claim as to which is the real Shiv Sena will be decided by the voters today here in the city of Mumbai.
All right, well, Disha, thank you so much for those updates. Idris, coming to you now, I want to ask you the same question. What is the mood like on ground, especially considering the twin attacks in Shopian and Anantnag, which were reported in the lead up to the polls? What can you tell us about the security situation there as well? Idris, I hope you can hear me.
Right, there seems to be a technical glitch with our correspondent Idris Lone from Srinagar. Well, the voting for the fifth phase of the seventh phase Lok Sabha elections has begun for 49 seats across 8 states and union territories. And voters are practicing their franchise in Jharkhand, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, West Bengal and other 2 union territories of Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir.
We have Idris back online with us. Idris, I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, I can.
Right. Idris, I was asking you about what the mood on ground is. Also, what is the security situation like, especially after the twin attacks that were reported in Shopian and Anantnag a day prior to polling here?
Well, absolutely. The security was put on high alert across the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, especially in the Baramulla constituency from the last 2 days after the twin attacks that took place in South Kashmir. If we talk about Baramulla constituency, it's a very key seat, especially because the National Conference's President, Vice President Umar Abdullah is fighting for this seat. He's pitted against People's Conference's Sajjad Lone, who's indirectly being supported by parties like Apni Party, as well as the local regional parties have alleged that Bharatiya Janata Party has not fielded a candidate from the Kashmir region because they support Apni Party and People's Conference. There are around 17 lakh voters in the Baramulla constituency who would decide the fate of 3 candidates mainly. One is Umar Abdullah, the other one is Sajjad Lone, and the third one, very interesting candidate, is Engineer Rashid, who's been languishing in the jail from the last many years under an NIA case. He's also in the fray, and we've seen that his son has been campaigning for the party, and he's got a lot of support during the campaigning as well. There's one more seat in Ladakh region which is going to polls today, and if we talk about Ladakh seat, the main fight is between 2 candidates. One is from the BJP, because BJP has not fielded the sitting MP from the Ladakh region. This time they fielded another candidate, but he's in direct contest with the Congress candidate, who's being also supported because of the India Alliance. He's being supported by the parties like National Conference and PDP.
Right, Idris. We will be anticipating the tripartite contest in Baramulla from there. Thank you so much, Disha and Idris, for taking our time and joining us here on World DNA with your insights from the ground.
All right, let's now shift our focus to all the stories making headlines in the world of business now. All right, we're taking a look at how India is faring in the global artificial intelligence race now.
Right, this as worldwide investors begin to shift their focus away from expensive tech stocks associated with the old economy. The shares of India's much touted tech outsourcing companies, they're now taking a hit. Our next report tells you more. Take a look.
There has been little progress in generative AI from Indian software companies, including market leader Tata Consultancy Services. That, together with the continued uncertainty around client expenditure, could eventually make them appear like yesterday's tech pets. Due to their inability to adapt to changing market conditions, traditional software businesses are putting their profitability and values in jeopardy. A technical correction has begun for Indian tech stocks, which have broken below critical support levels. After a sustained surge in the nation's stock market, that gauge is still trading at a premium to its historical average earnings. The world's largest companies got Bangalore'd by outsourcing a lot of back-office labor to the city. That resulted in a boom in India's information technology industry. Google and Microsoft have been pouring billions on research and development of their own cloud services and massive language models. Despite AI's good PR and efforts of Indian and global competitors, the technology is yet to make a significant impact on revenue. In comparison to its yearly sales of over $30 billion, TCS reported a doubling of its AI pipeline to $900 million in the most recent quarter, but that's not good enough. India's software makers have been seen as laggards in AI. In the absence of substantial advances in this area, they may lose investor interest as their business faces threats of cannibalization. Bureau Report WION, World is One.
Well, China has launched an anti-dumping probe into chemical imports from the European Union, United States, Japan and also Taiwan.
Now, this key engineering plastic, it's used in a wide range of products from cars and appliances to medical equipment. China claims these imports are harming domestic producers and it's vowed to take action. The move comes amid a string of tit-for-tat actions between China and major trading partners. The EU recently launched a similar probe into Chinese products, while the US proposed new tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles and solar panels. China relies heavily on imports to meet its POM needs, with nearly half coming from foreign sources in 2022.
The investigation is expected to be completed within a year, with potential extensions further, while China's anti-dumping probe is seen by some as a counterpunch against recent European Union trade actions. The EU has launched a series of investigations into alleged Chinese subsidies for industries like electric cars, seen as a threat to European businesses. China has warned of countermeasures if the EU continues these probes. Potential targets include European wine, dairy and aircraft sectors. The China Chamber of Commerce to the European Union has also predicted more tariffs going forward.
I don't think anyone really is a fan of terrorists and probes and new investigations, but it's a consequence of things being seen being at a place where they're not supposed to be. And I think it's a call for everyone to sit down and talk about these issues, which are real, so we address them before they become even bigger. I think, unfortunately, that the direction of travel now is pretty clear, and that is, in all likelihood, we are going to see many more, unless we find a way to talk about these things that are seen as being out of balance.
Now, the timing of China's probe further complicates the already strained regional situation. Taiwan's inauguration of pro-independence leader adds to existing tensions. China views Taiwan as a breakaway province and fiercely opposes any move towards formal independence.
Meanwhile, Japan's efforts to strengthen security ties with the US have drawn criticism from China, who perceives them as attempts to form a NATO-like alliance in the Asia-Pacific. These factors contribute to a complex geopolitical backdrop for the current trade disputes.